This video is a walkthrough of the lesson plan for UDL Part 1. And we're going to start with the actual lesson plan template, which would be in your assessment area of your module for this week. We're just going to scroll down to the UDL lesson plan template, in which I just click make a copy. And now I have a version of the lesson plan that I can work on. I can change the title to, and it won't affect the original. This is a very long lesson plan. We're just only going to deal with literally the first page, and the second part will be dealt with in your second part of the project next week. So, Metaverse Augmented Reality Lesson Plan. And the first thing that we're going to do is, since this is a copy, we're going to go ahead and change the title. So I'm going to put Arbogast, and I can call it UDL Lesson Plan. I don't really care what you call it. Just make sure your name is in there somewhere. And so UDL Lesson Plan, and I'm going to say example since I'm just showing you this example. So now we get into the meat of the lesson plan, and this is the informational section. The informational section, you're always going to fill in the white parts of the lesson plan, with one exception. This up here says delete this title line and type your own lesson plan, unit plan, title. So this is the overall arching theme of your lesson plan. We talked about way back when we talked about standards, we talked about themes and content strands and the overarching umbrella of the standards. Well, that's what we're looking at here. We're looking for a general topic. And for me, I am going to work with animal habitats. Whoops. So animal habitats is my theme for this particular lesson plan. The content area is going to be the subject area that you're working on with animal habitats. And for me, this is science. And then if I tab over to author, it's obviously your name. The time required. So the time required is, if you were in a classroom, how much time would you spend on this particular theme, unit, module? And again, there's no wrong answer here, but I do want you to think logically. If you're going to do animal habitats, is this something you can do in a day? Is this something you can tie in with a math lesson, something you tie in with a history lesson? Is this something you're going to work on totally by itself? So for me, I'm just going to say we're going to work on animal habitats for 1 week. So again, it's up to you. The grade level or audience, for me, it's going to be second grade. The next section is academic standards. And as we have before, I've got a link here where you can go and look out on the Ohio academic standards, but you've already pulled them into your portfolio. So you want to take a look around, see if there's one that basically got you your theme to begin with, but then you'll need the actual standard that's in here. And I found one prior to doing the video, and this one is 8.k.ls.2. Living things have physical traits and behaviors which influence their survival. So I pulled these from the second grade science standards, and that is my academic standard. And this obviously has to do with animal habitats. That was the theme. The next is the learning objectives, or what is the big idea or goal of this lesson plan? And the goal of my lesson plan is going to be for students to be able to recognize that animals need different environments to survive. So I've got my information section here. I've got how long it's going to take, the content area, my overall theme, and the academic standards. Remember, when you do a learning objective, you want to have an action verb from Bloom's taxonomy. So I can measure whether students can recognize that animals need different environments to survive. So good, we've got our information section. We're a third of the way done. So now we're going to look at application of UDL principles. And I've also put a link here for you to look at UDL principles. As we look at the UDL guidelines, we have multiple means of engagement. And here is our guideline for recruiting interest. And then here are our checkpoints. So I have the checkpoint of optimize individual choice and autonomy, and it tells me how to do that. And that's how you'll look at each of these when we're planning our lesson. So multiple means of engagement. I'm just going to tap into, as it says, learner interest, need for a challenge, and motivation. So multiple means of engagement. I'm going to tap into the learner's interest, the need for challenge, and motivation. So I'm just going to brainstorm some ideas about animal habitats that have to do with living things, have physical traits and behaviors which influence their survival. So I think I am going to think about, let's look at the UDL principle for multiple means of engagement. And I'm going to hone in on, oh, I like this one. Foster collaboration and community. So create cooperative learning groups, create school-wide programs of positive behavior, and create group work. This sounds like a good one. So I think I'm going to use that. So I'm going to, and I always want to put the number too. So my checkpoint is 8.3. Foster collaboration and community. Excellent. So how can I do that? So my idea would be to have a group project or maybe posters working with the zoo to raise awareness of diminishing habitats. All right. In order to do that, they would have to do some research to find out what those animals need to survive. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. But I might have another one. Let me look one more time. So I'm going to go ahead, maybe just bold this so it stands out. And let me look for another checkpoint. Okay, what else? Oh, I do like this 7.1, the one that we looked at already. Optimize individual choice and autonomy. And I can do that by provide learners with as much discretion and autonomy as possible by providing choices in such things as the level of perceived challenge, the type of rewards and recognition, the context or content used, and so on. So that looks like a good option for me. So I think I'm going to go with checkpoint 7.1, optimize individual choice and autonomy. Awesome. So how am I going to accomplish this? Well, I think I'm going to allow the groups to choose the animal and habitat they like to research. I also think since we're going to use metaverse in our next part of this piece of the lesson plan, our next part of our project, so I'm going to say utilize a metaverse experience in which students can choose how to receive their information. And that'll make sense a little bit more when we get into metaverse, in which when I create the experience, I can create paths for students to go down in which they can opt for a video or reading or an activity to learn the material. So it gives them a little bit of choice on maybe different animals or different parts of the habitat. So that's all up to me later on when I create my metaverse. So again, I'm going to highlight the checkpoint here and maybe make it a little bit bold. And then just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and put in some bullets so I can see these much better. There we go. Okay, I like that. That looks good. So now let's move on to multiple means of representation. As I mentioned, it's the content piece. I want to give learners options for acquiring the information. And I'm looking at different ways that I can do that. For the multiple means of representation, what I want to look at, let's look at the UDL principles. Go back. So multiple means of representation is the purple here in the middle. So let me look at some of these. And again, in the interest of time, I like the very first one. Offer ways of customizing the display of information. So this is very important. So let's take a look at that one. The size of text, images, graphs, tables, the contrast, the color used, the volume and rate of speed, speed or timing, the layout. So all of this is ways that they can control the display of that information. Now that could be on a computer screen. It could be that you have giant posters or handouts to go along with something. It could be that you have transcripts for videos. But in this case, I do like this, so I'm going to use that checkpoint. So the checkpoint 1.1 is to offer ways of customizing the display of information. Okay, so how am I going to do that? So I'm just going to spitball some ideas here. I would say maybe slideshows with pictures and handouts. That could be screen reader ready. This is something which the student can then control when the slides are moved forward. So it would be a narrated screen show or slideshow, and that way they can control the speed, the size. I can also have the text in transcripts for the slideshow. How about videos or movies with closed captions? That's always good. Ooh, how about a no-tech version of a field trip to the zoo? And this is where students can see the animals or hear about the animals from zoo personnel. So this is a bit of a stretch as far as changing the display, but the display would be the actual live animals. So they can see pictures of them up close with the plaques that they have at the zoo or the actual zoo animals in action. So it's really kind of like changing the display because a lot of them have touch screens and interactive exhibits about animals and habitats. So a little bit of a stretch, but I like it anyways. And then again, since we're doing metaverse, I'm going to say utilize a metaverse experience in which students can alter the size of the fonts, sound levels, etc. Okay, and then let's clean it up a little bit. Fold out my checkpoint so I can see it, and maybe bullet point the list so I can see them as well. Okay, 2 out of 3. We just have action and expression. So action and expression is the product or the artifact. So what can I have students do that will tell me that they have mastered the idea of animal habitats and they can recognize that animals need different environments to survive? Okay, well, let's take a look at our UDL principles and let's see what we have under action and expression. So we have physical action, expression and communication, executive function. Ooh, so this one, I'm going to go down here for expression and communication. This looks very techie, so that's why I was drawn to it. Use multiple media for communication, 5.1. Compose in multimedia such as text, speech, drawing, illustration, comics, storyboards, physical manipulatives, social media and interactive, solve problems using a variety of strategies. Sounds good. I like this one. So my checkpoint is 5.1, use multiple media for communication. And how am I going to do that? Okay, let's just spitball some ideas. How about complete a shoebox project? Or a diorama. Ooh, how about another fun one? Dress up like the animal from your habitat. Oops. And tell us about the habitat. I like that one. How about create the habitat in Minecraft for education? Ooh, that's a good one. That might also be engagement and could be something to where students could challenge themselves a little more. Instead of a diorama, they could create Minecraft digital version of the habitat. So again, these can cross over a little bit. And I know, how about we have them complete, you got it, a metaverse experience. Do our little cleanup here. And voila, second section done. So I do want you to take some time to look through the UDL principles, the different guidelines and checkpoints, and really come up with something. Don't use the same ones necessarily that I used. It's okay to use maybe one, but try to find some other ones that are different than the ones that I used. Okay, last section here, teaching the UDL lesson. Okay, so now we're down to the nitty gritty. How actually are we going to teach the lesson? So what is my post-assessment going to be? The post-assessment would be, okay, I can have them do multiple things, multiple projects. They can do a shoebox diorama, they can dress up, they can do all these things, but how am I actually going to assess that they recognize their habitat? The animals need different environments to survive in that habitat. So this doesn't have to be anything that's up here. It could be a quiz. It could be one of the projects that you're doing. And that again would be something that you would ensure that you've met all the learning objectives in order to have that post-assessment. So for our post-assessment, I think I'm going to, I will have the students complete a short quiz on habitats in general, things that we've gone over, and then select between a diorama or a Minecraft habitat of their choice, and have them complete a metaverse experience. So my assessments are based a little bit on the all types of learners that we've talked about. So there's a logic type piece, which is the short quiz. There's the physical or kinesthetic type piece, which is building or creating something. And then there's the metaverse experience, which is really a wrap up or a follow up, which is a little bit of interactive, a little bit, it could be nature, it could be interpersonal if I have them do a reflection. So the metaverse experience is a little bit more wide open depending on how I create it. So I've got those three things between all of them should tell me if they have understood about habitats and recognized that animals need different environments to survive. And then our final thing is, great, I'm going to do all this or any of these items that I've brainstormed. What resources do I need in order to do that? And that's just a very simplified version of what are you going to do to implement these options and all the different things that I might need to do that. So I would say for the short quiz, I would need, I have to create a Google form quiz and ensure students can access it through a computer or tablet. So it sounds funny to say that they can access it, but if we've seen sometimes forget to check that the access is turned on or that they have the ability to actually click on it or that the form even works. So if I'm doing a computerized quiz, then I want to make sure I've tested it. And that's what this is. For the shoebox habitat, I need shoeboxes or have them bring that in. I need art supplies, etc. for the diorama. And then if it's Minecraft, I need to have Minecraft for education set up on a computer or tablet. Ensure the subscription is available if necessary, and have instructions or training on how to use the software. Okay. As far as the metaverse, I need to create the metaverse experience that includes selected videos and other multimedia. So I have to get all that ahead of time in order to ensure that these assessments and so forth that I want to complete are ready to go. And again, I'm just going to do a little cleanup because that's the way I am. Awesome. So this looks good. This looks real good. I like this. As it says, you've completed part 1. We're not going to worry about part 2 until the next week. And Part 2 is going to be planning your metaverse experience and so forth. So once you've learned about emerging technology next week and specifically about metaverse, then you'll be able to complete this section. For this particular part of the lesson plan, you're not going to add it to your Google site until we've finished the whole lesson plan. So at this point, all you're going to do is share the document, and you want to make sure that you've put it into your EDU 120 shared folder. I'm not going to do that here because you already know how to do that. And or you can get a link that says anyone with the link can view. So anyone with the link can view, and you can copy that link there. This is what you want to copy and paste into the Blackboard Dropbox for this week for the lesson plan. Next week, when you finish the lesson plan, you'll be uploading it to your Google Sites, but just not this week. And that's it. That is the lesson plan. It looks good. Make sure you're taking the time to really look at your academic standards, figuring out your learning objectives, and spitballing some of these ideas for your lesson plan. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, you're struggling at all, please get a hold of me and we will answer your questions and walk through some of the issues that you're having. Otherwise, have fun, enjoy, be creative, and have fun with it.